All right, welcome everybody to the Abington Conservation Commission meeting. Time is 6:30 PM and the date is July 23rd. So first up on the menu, on the agenda, excuse me, is our ANRAD for Zero Shaw Avenue, filed by Manny Ramos, Shaw Avenue Realty Partners LLC.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
My name is Ken Thompson. I'm the wetland scientist for the project.
Can you repeat that?
My
in the
name is
mic?
Ken Thompson, and I'm the wetland scientist for the project.
Mhm.
And we're here to get a peer review, okay? And I
Yes.
guess my only question is, I'd like to get a quote so that I can get it to the applicant, and if he wants, this person wants to contact me, I can meet him in the field also.
Okay,
That saves a step for us going out for a second trip.
right.
If
Yeah,
you can.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so Jean,
I'll make a
you
motion, yeah.
can get
I
some
will
quotes.
reach out to, we have 3 that we use, we just picked up a new one, so
Mhm.
I will reach out to them and give them the information on your project from the last time.
And they can contact me.
Okay, with any
I'll go through
questions?
you.
Okay,
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
You were making a motion?
oh, so I'll make a motion to, get a peer review estimates into, for Zero Shaw, hopefully before the next meeting. And any questions or information will go directly with Ken?
Yeah.
Correspondence?
Mhm.
And it's probably gonna be a few meetings before we get this all resolved between
Oh, yeah.
getting them in there.
Sure.
If he moves flags, I gotta have it surveyed, you get a new plan.
Yeah, I have
Right.
to know if they, I mean, where it's your busy season right now, it's kinda hard to pinpoint how much lead time they can
Mhm.
give me, so
Yep,
I
understand.
will keep you in all
Yeah, and
correspondence.
I'll email you and to
Okay,
continue if I have, if, you know what I mean? as
yep,
it
like we
comes up,
normally,
we
yeah.
get it resolved.
Okay, doke,
All righty?
sounds like a plan.
Okay.
So that's my motion.
Second.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, unanimous, all right. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ken.
Does anyone else want to speak about Zero Shaw?
Yeah.
You can go up to the podium and say your name and address, please.
Yes, and I just have a comment. Could you please post the agendas on the internet? Because we come all the time, and I check the agendas, and it's not there. So
Yeah,
that would be helpful. Thank you very much.
Should be
Okay,
on the town
thank you.
website.
It's not on the town
No?
website.
yeah,
You can check.
Hi, Alex.
Okay.
okay. Thank you. Any other comments, questions about Zero Shaw? Good? Okay, thank you. All right, we just started. All right, so next, update on enforcement order on 60 Berry Road. Is anybody here from that property or associated with them? No? Okay. I haven't heard anything from them,
Yeah, we gave them
like,
a while,
October
but yeah.
1st.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
okay.
keep it on the agenda in case they
Mhm.
bring something in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, any thoughts or questions about the 60 Berry Road? We're good?
When were they, did they have to have someone take a look at it?
They have to give us the plans by October 1st.
October 1st, okay.
Yeah,
I know that.
so yeah, that'll probably be continued quite a while unless they come in and ask questions. Okay, next, Hanson Tree, 832 Randolph Street. So we were going to do an enforcement order on them, but first I want to see if anybody in the audience is from or associated with Hanson Tree? No? Okay. So, they haven't been showing up for quite a while. We decided at the last meeting that if they didn't appear, we would give them a formal enforcement order. Right now, we've been just working with them without doing the actual formal document. So I contacted David Cowell, whom we did the site walk with, who's their wetland scientist and engineer. Hadn't heard from him, so sent him an email Friday, called on Monday, and nothing. So I called Hanson Tree today, finally got a hold of somebody, and they said they had put everything into his hands. It was all on him. They hadn't heard from him. They've spent $12,000 so far.
Are they talking about they put it on the wetland scientist and they haven't heard back from them?
Right.
Hmm.
They're putting it on him and saying, we haven't heard anything. And I said, well, this is what the commission is thinking about doing. So you might want to, figure out what you're gonna do next. So I don't know if we wanna go ahead and go with the formal enforcement order. Do we wanna give them another?
What does the
Chance.
enforcement order actually say?
Well, we never did an
Yeah, but you
official
said
one.
you were gonna, Yeah.
I wrote one up, and it was basically sort of boilerplate, like, you need to stop work, within the buffer and wetlands, you need to put up erosion control, which they have. You need to come up with a plan, as discussed in previous Conservation Commission meetings, to restore the area, to move mulch and wood piles. And gave them a date of August 15th to come in, since that's our deadline for a lot of other
okay.
places. So this would just be a formality, because we have already been working with them.
Yeah, I mean, we first got called out there, it was over a year ago. And we've had nothing but difficulty trying to get things resolved.
Well, I think we give them till August 15th, and then we'll issue a enforcement order to cease all activity on the property.
Mhm.
If they're gonna ignore us, then
Yep.
they've had a lot of, this has been going on longer than I've been on the board,
Okay,
so.
yeah. Weymouth,
Oh, right, so I talked to Weymouth, their conservation agent. He did a drive-by, but he couldn't see anything, because he was just driving by the road.
mhm,
I explained to him that when we were there at the site walk, it looked like they had encroached
mhm.
past the Weymouth line. And they have a 50-foot no disturb that's for commercial, which is greater than ours. I don't know what the legality is if you've worked in a wetland, but then the buffer or the wetland goes into another town, how that works, but he was gonna talk to, he said, his higher-ups about that.
Okay.
The other question is that sign actually where the Weymouth line is? He wasn't quite sure. It could be that it's off a little bit,
Yeah,
so that would require a survey. But,
Either way, it's just been lingering for such a long period of time.
mhm,
And in the interim, the wetland is being continually impacted in a negative way.
mhm.
Never mind the buffer, there is no buffer because they're working in the buffer. So,
Yeah.
I agree with Alex. Cease and desist by August 15th if we don't.
How is that enforced?
our enforcement officer, who is Jason Harris, would serve them, and if they continued to work, then it would be a legal issue that we'd have to
Go to court.
go to court and get them shut down.
So they would be completely shut down,
Mhm.
everything.
I mean, either that or just come and give us a plan. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just want to be clear, when I call him tomorrow, and I said this is what the commission decided, that if we give an August 15th, it's cease all activity on the entire property,
Well,
not
I
just
think,
buffer.
yeah, I mean, they need to come in on August 15th.
Mhm,
And if they don't show up, tell them that we're gonna shut down the whole operation.
mhm. Okay,
That'll get them here.
all right. All right. Is there anything else we want to discuss about Hanson Tree? Okay. All right. So should we take a vote for the August 15th deadline?
Sure, I'll make a motion. Do you want me to make a motion on this?
I'm not sure we really need a motion on it, but,
Just to continue to next time?
Yeah, we'll just continue.
yeah.
All
Okay,
right,
Yeah.
good,
okay.
thank you.
Next, amended enforcement order, 1212 Bedford Street and order 26
20.
Highland. Oh, yeah, thank you. Update on complaint from DEP at 267 North Quincy Street. Anybody from that property here? No?
No updates.
They're not supposed to get back to us until August anyway.
They're August 15th also?
They're August 15th, and that's just to give us an update.
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't expect to hear anything.
Yeah,
And we
but
haven't.
keep it on the agenda.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, now we can go to 1212 Bedford Street and or 26 Highland Street. Anybody from that property or those properties here? No? Okay. Haven't heard anything from them, but I didn't expect to, since their deadline is also August 15th for the plans. Okay,
Do we have,
and
I'm sorry, do we have any indication that they're working on plans? Okay,
nobody said anything to us.
okay.
But they don't necessarily have to, they can just have their wetland scientist or engineer or whatever come up and just say,
Speak
here you
to it.
go.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
All right, so we'll continue that to the next meeting. Related to that, we have 1200 Bedford Street. Matthew McPhail, is he here? Okay. Can you come up to the podium, please? And introduce yourself and give us your address.
Matt McPhail, 1200 Bedford Street. I live on Shaw Ave, 164 Shaw Ave, but 1200 Bedford Street.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm a little nervous, so
It's okay, it's okay.
work with me. Okay. I don't,
I'm sorry, let's, before we get started
Yep.
on that one, August 13th is our next meeting.
Correct.
So we want Hanson Tree for August 13th.
I was actually thinking of skipping that meeting
Okay,
because all the deadlines are the 15th.
okay.
And we basically, all we're doing is enforcement orders.
Yeah,
And therefore, take a break,
and just
On that.
meet on the 20th,
27th is the next meeting,
27th.
Yeah.
Okay.
if that's okay with everybody?
Yeah,
Sounds like
that's
a
fine.
plan.
Okay,
Sorry to interrupt.
no, it's okay.
sure.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that, we would do it on the 27th.
Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Okay. Where do we start?
that's a good question, because I know the history of this property. This is associated with
Yes.
1212 and 26
Yes,
Highland Road.
and I'd like to say I'm here to do the opposite of 1212. So I want to address everything that you want me to address. I live in town, work in town, work for the town. I don't understand exactly, I only get information from one person. So it's kind of one-sided. So I don't know what I'm actually here for, so I'd like to understand that first of all. I've been there for 21 years, so
Right.
anything prior to that I can't help you with, but anything after that I definitely can.
Right.
Um,
So I know the history of the site is very complex.
Yes.
When the 1212 Bedford Street came up, I actually had to give a presentation because there were so many maps and plans,
Yes.
and I have a 9-page
It's very
documentation.
confusing. Yeah.
It is
Yep.
very confusing. I can give that to you. It's
Okay.
mostly focused on 1212, but I understand that part of the parcels that are in question on 1212 came originally from
It did.
1200.
He was gonna build a building. He didn't have enough square footage, so I sold him that part out front. And then the state came by and took like 10 feet of our frontage.
Right.
So I sold him that parcel in the back, so he could get enough square footage to build a building.
Mhm.
That's how that all came about. The building's not there, but he has the square footage to build a building if he ever wants to.
Right.
So,
So what
I-
about that pond between the,
well, I can tell you what I know about it. And
Is that
I'm
on
gonna
your
be redundant
property?
here because
is
I
that on
have-
your property?
Pardon me? Go
Is
ahead.
that still on your property?
Yes, it's 100% of my property.
Okay.
Yes, yep. When I bought that off the Johnson family, I got a book, and I think that Vinny, my neighbor, gave you that book, or you didn't want to look at the book or whatever, but it was from Garvey Engineering over in Whitman. I got it from, the guy bought it off, and I got it from Vinny. And it was a wetlands, a whole thing done, and it was years and years and years ago, before I ever got there. And it said that that pit was man-made, and I've heard from all the neighbors, that that pit was man-made, that they were gonna do weddings there. I've heard it from numerous people. They pushed the boulders in, they made the water stay there. So everybody up there assumes that that is not wetlands. It's a man-made retention pit, whatever you wanna call it. And I actually have the book. I didn't bring it because my neighbor said that you wouldn't look at his book, so it's the same book. So I'm just telling, I have the book at home, it's all highlighted.
We have it.
Oh, you have it, okay.
We have it.
You guys know way more than me. So I didn't put any of the boulders there, I didn't do any of that, that's the way it was. There was a 60-foot hoop house, greenhouse, it used to be a nursery before I bought it. And I sell firewood, and I heat my house with firewood. So I had firewood out there for years. People were stealing it, so I moved it up behind Mr. and Mrs. Reed's house. I was in their backyard cutting firewood, so I moved it further back. And that's kinda, I've been before the board, twice that I know of, to do, there was an old 5-inch, 6-inch clay pipe that ran the water out of the back, into that pit, and then across the street. State got involved when they took my land 5 years ago and said that I was in violation. It was done way before even the guy I bought it off of was there. So I've had the state out there at least 5 times. We went through the whole thing. I went down to Taunton to the DPW. They approved it. They put in a new manhole cover, they put in a new pipe, they took it all. In the meantime, I came before the board, and I don't have the paperwork, I'm sorry, but to replace that 6-inch pipe with a 12-inch pipe, because it was all, it didn't work. It came right over and right down into the, actually into my building. It would flood my building. Then I went back to the board, and I asked them if I could put 2, what do you call it, containers with a fence, and I got approved. I had, can't remember his name, Jerry Kelleher maybe at the time, came out, showed me where to put the containers in the fence. I put the containers there, but I don't have the money for the fence, so the fence is in limbo. But other than that, you know, I don't know what else to tell, you know, that's kind of what I've done, you know?
Yeah, we have all that in our
Yeah.
files, and I've gone through and I've read
Okay.
everything, and I saw
Is
the
that
whole
a
thing.
real thing?
And
That thing from Gavi and, like, I have it, is it?
so, I mean, I
This is
have,
where it all is gonna fall
I
down.
have stuff going back to 1979,
Okay,
which shows that, yes, that pond was there,
Right.
and it looks like it was man-made,
Right.
but it was stormwater. Because there's
Okay.
an intermittent stream that goes
Correct. Up in the back.
alongside, and it was supposed to go into that pond. And then I saw that it went underneath Route 18, which is what I think the
State did.
state got on
Correct.
you
Yep,
for that.
Yep.
But that was in the plan, itself, so.
absolutely correct.
What
Yep.
you can see with aerial photography.
Yep.
On Mass Mapper, you go back over time, is that pond's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Okay.
Over time, and particularly in 2013 and 2014.
Okay,
So that's caused an issue. There's also, right next to it, there's a wetland, according to DEP. That's,
Okay.
a lot of it's on your property, but it overlaps
really?
with what, yeah.
Okay,
And I'll show you
okay,
I'll give you all the information I have on that.
all right. Really? Okay, because that was always, like, we always worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I had firewood there, I had trucks, like, it wasn't, I don't know what you consider wetlands. It wasn't like swampy wetlands, like, way out back is obviously wet. There's an intermittent stream that runs through there, so.
Yeah, and that intermittent stream comes down, and what's happening is it's backed up onto the property of 26 Highland Road,
Mr. Reed,
Mr. and Mrs. Reed.
yeah,
And it should be going presumably
Right.
through into
Right.
the pond and out. Everything's blocked up, there's
Right.
no wetland anymore. That needs to
When
get
we-
restored.
excuse me, when we came to put that 12-inch pipe in to connect the dots, so to speak, we offered Mr. Reed a 12-inch pipe, and I would take all of Mr. Reed's water into the pit. But I don't own the land anymore, and Mr. Reed and my neighbor are not seeing eye to eye, so they can't cross that little bit of land to tie into my pipe. I thought that was a done deal when we were all gonna do it. I thought that's how we were all gonna come into that pit. I don't mind taking everybody's water. I know when I bought it, it was underwater. I didn't realize how far underwater it was. I mean, we've had to close numerous times over the years because of the water that comes down through there. I will tell you that when we put the pipe in, the 12-inch pipe, it doesn't do it anymore. So it did work. And I came to the board before and I begged them, because we would have to close. It used to be a flower shop, then it was a deli. We'd have to close because the water would literally come right up through the building. So that I can tell you, it did work. It's worked over the years. And whatever we end up doing, I would appreciate if we could just keep that pipe working, because
So where is that 12-inch pipe?
it comes, there's an intermittent stream, if that's what you call it.
Yep.
And it stops right behind Mr. Reed's property and my property and Vinnie, it all comes into one thing right there. And somebody made like a concrete, like that, it's concrete, there's a hole in it. And then from that hole, there was an old clay pipe, and it kept overflowing and overflowing, so we dug it up. And we could see where it was just busted up. So I did come before the board, and we put a 12-inch poly pipe in the exact same hole, exact same spot, exact same everything. And then we tied it in to what the state was going to do in the future, which is all done now. And the volume of water that comes in there, like you can walk that right now, it's bone dry. But when we get 3, 4, 5 inches of rain, it comes from every street, every house, every yard, right down into my property and Mr. Reed's property. And I thought we were all on the same boat when we were doing it, that we were gonna tie it all in and everybody was gonna be happy. But it didn't happen that way. And I can't do anything about it because I no longer own the land.
Right.
I can't offer Mr. Reed what I offered him, however
So
many
is
years
that
ago.
pipe not working now, or?
Well, things are filled in so much, it's hard to tell.
Did the entrance
What's
of the
going
pipe
on?
get filled in or covered over? Is that
No,
it
what
is?
happens is the debris from all the trees. It's just, all out there is rocks. And you can call it what you want, wetland. It's rocks and nothing grows in it. And it's just stuff falling all the time. Nobody cleans it out. I never think to clean it. You have to climb down in it to clean it out. So it fills up with junk. It fills up with debris, basically. And I don't know if Mr. Reed's land, I don't wanna get involved. I'm trying to be a good neighbor. I'm trying to stay out of that mess over there. I've been there for 20 years. I'm in everybody's backyard. I'm the guy. I'm the commercial guy in everybody's backyard. Everybody up there hates me. I start trucks, I leave, I cut firewood, they all hate me. And I just try to stay out of there. I really just try to not talk to anybody, just try to stay out of there. Mr. and Mrs. Reed seem to be okay with me these days. They have bigger problems, but it fills up. It just fills up. And I don't know if the water goes over that or not, because it's pretty high, but Mr. Reed has a very low-lying, he's got like a pit full of water in the corner. And that's the water we were gonna take away in the very beginning, that
Are you putting another pipe in?
we were
too?
supposed to put a Y pipe, one
I
that
see.
went, one that went to his property.
Yeah.
And then one that came where it was, and we were gonna tie it in, so whatever came into Mr. Reed's, the runoff from the street, we were gonna just let it go in the pit, and then the state let me tie in. The state's like, yep, go ahead, you're all set. So everybody was happy, everything was good,
Well, I don't think everyone was happy,
well,
because
Yeah.
the Reeds appealed that to DEP.
okay, see, I don't know, I don't own that land, that strip anymore.
Yeah.
So there's like a 20-foot piece of property that I'm no longer part of, so.
Right, exactly.
And I'm only privy to one side of the story, and you know whose story that is. So
Right.
I only hear what that side is.
Right, so right now, he's under an enforcement order to restore the wetlands.
Okay,
DEP came in with a superseding order of applicability, saying you cannot put the pipe in because that would either alter dredge or fill a wetland.
which pipe is this now?
one
The
you-
12-inch pipe that
The
was
the
gonna
pipe
go
out in Mr.
across
Reed?
the property.
Okay.
There
Oh,
was
they did?
also,
Okay.
they said no to that. And they said, if you're gonna do something like that, you have to officially file a notice of intent. And that's never happened, and here we are,
Years.
10 years later.
Absolutely.
We, meaning the commission and
No, I get
and
it. I
Mr.
totally get
Yandere.
it.
And the thing with you, there's two issues regarding you and your property is the wetland in that area overlaps with the problem area. It's part of it.
Okay,
And it's gone completely. And in those situations, we have to have the property owner restore the wetlands.
okay,
So that's one of the issues that we have right there. The second issue is in the rear of your property.
yeah,
So there are some wetlands back there
right.
that are being encroached upon, and we don't have any filings about that.
Okay. Is that where the mulch is? I don't know if you guys have been up there.
If you
or
go,
what.
like, the daycare is here,
Yeah,
go straight back,
yep.
back here.
Right.
There's another wetland back there.
There's another whole lot back there, yep.
Yeah, and that's been encroached on for several years now.
Okay.
And it's gotten worse and worse over time. And just looking at aerial photography from 2023, you actually see things not just in the buffer zone, but within the wetland there itself.
Okay. What is the buffer zone?
100 feet,
100 feet.
although we do have regulations about how far you cannot work
Okay.
within, that you can't touch if you're a commercial operation. So,
Okay.
but in order to do any work on a property that has a wetlands, you have to file with us,
Okay.
and that doesn't appear to have been done.
No, I haven't done anything out there. That was just, it was full of nursery stuff. I just got rid of it, and there's mulch there.
Okay,
I have never, the only thing I've done with you guys is that poly pipe in the containers and a fence.
Okay.
That's what I know I've come, and the state is a whole different,
Right,
That's a whole
that's a
different
whole,
thing.
but it's just curious because I've noticed this with aerial photography since about 2019 through the present, and it's getting more and more and more encroachment. And it seems to be on your property.
that's all my property up there.
Yeah.
100%, yep.
So,
I don't know, I mean, if a tree comes down, I can't say we filled it, cause it's just,
I mean,
It's just
I see
mulch.
things parked back there
Yeah,
in the aerial
yeah,
photography.
yeah, no, we park trucks back there.
Yeah.
You know what I actually do? I store firewood in there.
Uh-huh.
I heat my house with, everybody heats, my whole family, so I need 30 cord and then I sell 30 cord. So I
Mm-hmm.
process 60 cord of wood on my property, every year. I have for 21 years I've been there. The neighbors got upset because I was cutting, so I bring it in all pre-cut, and then I just split it there and I store it. If you drive by, if you wanna come, if you guys wanna do a walkthrough, I'd be more than happy to bring you through. There's a pile of wood there, that's pretty much what I do. There's a couple trucks we park there, and that's about it. I don't work out of it, like, there's nothing going on the property, do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I split the wood in the very rear of my building, as tight as we can to the building. And then we just store it in a pile of, basically in the woods out there. So,
Mm.
I think we should go out there and take a walk on that property.
Mhm.
I'd be more than happy to meet you
Thank
guys,
you.
absolutely.
I also think
I,
that,
I'm not trying, I'm
No.
on Route 18, so I'm not
Right.
trying to like,
and we
you know,
understand that, but it's
right.
just that, you know, this whole thing is involving 3 separate
yes,
people, so
Absolutely.
we just need to find some resolution.
okay.
So we've already
No,
talked.
I'm willing, I'm willing to work with you guys,
Right.
whatever it is, it is.
So if we can set up a site walk to go out and just kind of walk the property. At
Absolutely.
that time, I'll bring you printed aerial
I
photographs.
got them in the mail.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, somebody
Okay.
sent them to me.
All right.
Yep.
The
Can we set up
progression.
a site walk now?
Yep, let's do it now. What do we have for availability?
Yeah, I
This
don't have a
week is no
problem.
good
Let's
for me.
just,
If we do it next week, it'd be better.
Yeah,
Like
I'm gonna be out
Tuesday-
of town, so.
Tuesday or Wednesday next week, maybe.
Okay, at noon?
Let's make it Wednesday at noon then.
How does-
Wednesday, the
Does that work for you?
31st?
Wednesday at noon next week? How does
July
that work for
31st?
anybody?
yeah, yeah,
available.
I work for myself, so I can come and go as I please.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that is
Noon?
is that the 31st?
Yeah.
Can you just, somebody just write that down on something for me?
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
That way you don't have to send me anything. or anything like that.
Can go.
Yeah.
You got
And I'll
it?
send you the documentation that I have, that I put together to kind of go over the history
Okay.
of, your property kind of gets into the
I-
history because of,
I knew this was
all
coming,
the stuff
I
going
knew
on.
this was coming 2 months ago, so
Okay.
it's fine.
okay,
I know.
okay.
I know what I'm up against.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
sure.
Okay. Is that it?
Thank
or
you, Justin.
Anything else?
Yeah, we'll see you next Wednesday
All
at
right.
noon.
Yeah, can you just do me a favor?
Yep,
There's when you pull, can you come up Summit Street and pull in the rear? There's a
Summit-
daycare out front, and
Okay.
Yeah.
she's got cars coming and going all the time.
go up
Okay.
Summit.
There's a
Summit?
rear entrance to the building, you'll see it,
Okay.
Yeah.
it just goes around in a giant circle.
Okay,
And, I'll be there at noon time on Wednesday,
Perfect.
okay?
okay, thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Have a
Thank
good night.
you.
Bye-bye.
Does anyone have any comments from the audience about the 1200 Bedford Street? No? Anything else we want to discuss about it?
So DEP won't approve the pipe. So they basically just want to turn the land back in, just complete restoration can't be used in the capacity that it's currently being used, right?
Well, what happened was he filed an RDA. The Conservation Commission said file an NOI
Mhm.
for the pipe, and they wanted to put up gates, and I think there was something else. And the commission approved that, but dredging or altering a wetland, right, that
Mhm.
requires more of an NOI. So the Reeds appealed it to DEP, DEP agreed
Okay.
that you need an NOI.
So we just need that. to
It,
get-
it could
to
be
go any
done with the
further.
proper filing and
Yeah.
proper plans.
But the question is, when you've had wetlands alteration, you're also supposed to restore. So it could be an issue where both need to be done. Run the pipe, you know, putting some trees are gonna suck up a lot of that water.
Yep, yep.
So unfortunately, that wetland overlaps with 3 properties, and 2 of which have altered the wetlands significantly. which has led to the backup of water on the Reed's property.
Got it.
Mrs. Reed, I see you in the audience. Do you have anything to add to that? Would like to?
There was the mulch pile.
Can you come
some
up
of
to the podium? We get complaints from people at home saying, who is that person? Thank
Elizabeth
you.
Reed, 26 Highland Road, Abington. There's, some of the mulch in the back of our property has been moved to the front side, not the back side. He just threw some there.
Is that additional mulch or, no, he
took
moved
the
it?
mulch that was from the back, not a lot of it, just a little bit.
Okay,
We were gone last week, so we just saw it last Sunday.
okay.
That's about it.
We'll have a better idea what's going on after.
Now, the dates that you said, August 15th is the first date. You said August 27th. What is that? I didn't see that on,
We're gonna meet August 27th,
Seventh,
but the,
okay. And that's when you should be expecting some plans from?
right, we expect the plan,
Oh,
well,
okay.
we asked for the plans.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if we expect them, but we asked for the plans
yeah.
for August 15th. So,
Well, I think that's in the enforcement order,
Yeah.
so
Is
I
that
expect to see it. So our next scheduled meeting was supposed to be for the 13th,
So we're not
so,
gonna-
but we have 15th deadline, so,
Oh, so you have to
Um,
move it to the next.
and we
Yeah.
have nothing else
27th.
really, so we'll just meet on the 27th.
Okay.
sound good?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Reed.
All right, thanks. So, okay, so we'll go ahead and continue that on to the next meeting. Next, we have vote to ratify enforcement order 19 Charles Street and/or 155 Birch Street. Do you want to talk about the complaint?
Yeah, I received a complaint and pictures of work being done in the area, and that's what sparked this. Because you don't have a filing with us, and you were doing some work within 100 feet, or within the wetlands, so.
Sean Reynolds, 19 Charles Street, 155 Birch. If I may, I'd like to pass out some photographs of what I've encumbered. Again, I've only owned this land for 18 months. And so, one of the neighbors has filed a court action indicating that his dumping would result into his possession of property. So when I began to go out and look at the
Actually,
property.
Mr.
That's really
Reynolds,
got nothing to
can
do.
you stay up at the podium because people at home
Can I
aren't
hand
able
Yeah,
to
hand
hear?
those.
Yeah, we'll pass them down, thank you.
Sure,
Your-
thank you.
Your daughter had called and said that you weren't feeling well and you
No.
wouldn't be able to attend.
I wasn't feeling well because I was over at Stoughton Court all day with
Okay.
5 subjects. So I was trying to get through that for today. Again, I have a health diagnosis and the
Do you
amount of
want to
ability.
continue this to another day if you're not feeling well?
I would like that,
Okay.
but I didn't know if I'd have to.
No, we can do
Present
that.
We can do it till the 27th of August.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
All right.
I told your daughter that, I don't know if she got back to you. when
I
she
thought I
called.
had to present, so,
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
no, I appreciate that
Let's,
very much.
I'll make a motion to continue it till the 27th of
I'll
August.
second.
Thank you so much.
All right,
I appreciate it. Do you want me to leave that there, or do you want me to take them?
No, we'll keep these and look these over if you don't mind.
No, and I do have, if this is helpful for most of you, the official wetlands delineation that I paid for.
Sure.
Okay, yeah,
Because-
that would be good.
And I can give you, how many were these? There should be enough copies. Yeah, here you go. So we're not hiding anything, I'm just trying to
Yep,
pick up
okay.
a mess.
Okay, all right, thank you. You're welcome.
The hot weather isn't helping.
No, no, I mean, she called me a couple hours ago and said
Yeah.
you were ill and wouldn't make it, and I said that was fine,
Trying
and,
to drag myself.
yeah.
You know,
Right.
we drag ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank
Feel
you.
better.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to vote
Continue.
though to ratify that enforcement order?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Make a motion to ratify the,
I'll make a motion to ratify the enforcement order.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, unanimous. actually, I'm gonna bump up, 261 Walnut Street because you're here. So we had a complaint for 261 Walnut Street, regarding work that was being done. Can you come up to the podium and introduce yourself and give us your address, please?
I want to start, my English is a little poor, and I try to, to explain what happened in the house.
We could get you a translator?
Is possible?
Oh, yeah, okay. And what language do you
In
speak?
Spanish?
Spanish? Okay. Let me see if I can find the number for that. Oh, here it is, okay. Thank you. Speaker. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, so we are, we have a commission meeting right now, so I'm trying to figure out, we have someone here who is an applicant who's speaking Spanish. And I don't know how we can do this so everyone can hear. And put it maybe over there.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Okay, hola, buenas tardes.
Sí, buenas
Thank you.
tardes.
And can you go up
Mi
to,
nombre es
Yeah,
Stephanie.
if you go up there.
go up there so
está
the,
allá.
yeah.
Yo voy a ser la intérprete en español. Todo lo que diga va a ser interpretado y confidencial.
Sí, muy bien, muchas gracias. Yo quisiera saber acerca de qué ha sido el reclamo, porque me han el reclamo a qué se debe.
Disculpe, ¿me puede repetir qué es lo que necesita?
Sí, me dicen que ha habido una queja de la propiedad donde vivo. Quisiera saber exactamente a qué se refiere.
Yeah, you have told me that there's a claim, there's been a complaint about where I live, and I would like to know why is that, or what's the reason of the complaint?
Right, so can you hear me from way over here? I don't know if she can hear.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. So there was a complaint from someone who noticed that there was fill that would, in work being performed on his property.
In May.
And this was in May. So that's why we're here, the Conservation Commission, to see what that work was, because it was done within a wetland buffer, and there are missing wetlands in addition to that.
Okay, just to clarify, you said that.
Can you
there
bring
was
it
a
closer to the mic?
complaint Because they noticed what he was doing, I'm sorry.
He was performing work within wetlands and the buffer of wetlands.
Brought in Phil.
And that we saw construction equipment.
There was a mini excavator and piles of dirt being moved around in the back in May. In May, I was asked to go out and look at the property, drive by, and I observed a little mini excavator moving piles of dirt that were in the backyard, which is where the wetlands are, and there's a buffer to the wetlands where you're not supposed to do any work without filing with conservation.
Okay,
All
got
right?
it, thank you.
Yep.
Sí, pues, la razón es, señor, ¿me escucha?
Sí, le escucho.
La razón es porque se le vio, alguien vio que alguien lo reportó porque había equipo de construcción en donde estaba la zona del pantano y había una mini excavadora, palas llenas de sucio, de tierra, que se habían movido, estaban moviendo en mayo. Y se supone que en la parte de
Sí, yo hice unos, rellené toda la parte de, al contorno de la piscina. Tengo una piscina en casa muy grande. Entonces toda esa parte que rodea la piscina es donde yo compré tierra para poder yo arreglar toda esa parte de atrás, pero eso no afecta para nada los pantanos que hay atrás.
Yeah, ma'am, I have, we were doing a filling over the pool that I have in my backyard. It's a really big pool. And, I bought some ground, soil for it, but it doesn't affect at all the area where the wetlands are.
Yo tengo fotos si ella quiere verlos.
And I have pictures if you want to see them.
We do have pictures as well, and when you look at the property on Mass Mapper, there's been significant change to the backyard from 2019 to 2023 in the area of the wetlands and the buffer.
Nosotros también tenemos imágenes y si usted busca la propiedad en los mapas, hay un cambio bien significativo en la parte trasera del 2019 al 2023 en el área donde están los pantanos.
Sí, pero yo no he trabajado en esa área de los pantanos. He trabajado de la parte de la piscina, todo el control de la piscina.
Yeah, but I haven't worked at all on the area where the wetlands are. I just worked on my pool.
The thing is that the area that you've worked in is within the wetlands buffer, and we can see from satellite photography that wetlands have been affected and altered. And that is why we're here tonight, because that is against the law.
Bueno, yo quisiera que vaya alguien entonces y que mire exactamente si es que afecta las áreas donde están hablando.
Es que esta área donde usted estaba trabajando, donde usted trabajó, perdón, está dentro de la contención de los pantanos. Y si vemos de las fotografías desde el satélite, los pantanos han sido afectados y alterados. Entonces, por eso es que estamos aquí esta noche, porque eso es en contra de la ley.
Sí, yo entiendo, pero yo quisiera que también vaya una persona que realmente certifique si es que ha sido afectado o algo de esa área. Porque yo tengo más de casi como 200 pies de la piscina a los pantanos.
I understand that, ma'am, but I would like someone to go and check that area too, so you can see that I haven't touched that part, because my pool is like, what, 200 feet away from the wetlands?
He's not understanding the buffer.
We can,
Why don't we just schedule a site walk?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
so we're gonna schedule a site walk.
Could you meet us next Wednesday around
What time?
12:30 or 1 o'clock, Wednesday the 31st?
So you need me in there because
Podemos,
We asked that the homeowner be present if we're gonna walk on their property.
va a estar presente porque vamos a caminar en su propiedad.
sí, está bien. No pueden moverlo
Yes,
para...
it's fine.
Pueden moverlo para un sábado porque yo trabajo, no puedo faltar.
But can you please move it for a Saturday? Because I'm working and I can't miss
We can do a
a
Saturday.
day like that.
Yes, we can do Saturday, I imagine.
Sí, sí podemos
What
podemos
time?
hacerlo sábado.
Ok, muchas gracias.
So I can't make this Saturday.
No, I know.
Maybe next Saturday.
It wouldn't be this Saturday, it
Should
would
be
be
the following.
What is that?
Third?
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 August 3rd.
August 3rd would be okay, Saturday.
I will not be around, but
I'm not around either.
Okay. How about you, Josh?
I'm not around either.
Okay, so it's John, Lynn, and I.
Sure.
Okay,
You're good, John?
I can do it on Saturday, yes.
Okay.
perfect.
So we'll schedule it for August 3rd. Oh, wait, what time?
11 a.m.?
I have time going to
Okay, what's available for you?
afternoon.
Afternoon?
Does
What
the
time?
afternoon on Saturday,
What time?
Like 2 o'clock?
Yeah, 2.
2?
Does that work for you,
John?
John?
I can do Saturday, 2 p.m.
Okay.
Do you have someone that can translate when they're on site?
Yeah, I can stay in my daughter. My
Yeah?
daughter, she-
Okay.
Okay.
Be good just to make sure that what they're saying and what you're saying can be
Everybody
communicated
understands. Yes,
effectively
absolutely.
back
I
and forth.
Well, there's
understand
Google
what
Translator on
you're
your phone,
saying.
too, you can do.
Sometimes it's better, you know.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Some-
Yeah.
I do have that Google Translate, just in case someone isn't there.
Oh, good.
You can, it's basically, you just speak into it and it'll tell you
Oh, all right.
what it
Google
says, so you
Translate.
could use that as well,
Thank
so.
you.
Okay,
All right.
that's a good idea.
Okay, so we will see you on August 3rd at 2 p.m. to walk your property.
Translate.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
gracias.
Bueno, nos vemos entonces el 3 de agosto a las 2 p.m. para ver sus propiedades. Gracias por venir.
Ah, muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hang
Thank
up
you for using
now.
our services. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye.
great day. Bye.
That worked well.
Yeah, I did.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
Very
great.
good.
Good to have.
So, just can you write exactly what day you
The date?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it will be Saturday,
August 3rd.
August
My mother-in-law's birthday.
3rd, 2 p.m.
She was such a nice woman. I
Okay.
don't want to go mother-in-law.
But in the meantime, we need to ratify this enforcement order. So can we get a motion to ratify?
I'll make a motion to ratify the enforcement order.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? No? Okay. Unanimous. All right, let's just do the last enforcement order, 95 Niles Street.
I recuse myself from this conversation.
Okay. So I think I'm the only person on the board who has dealt with this property. We asked the homeowners to come in to this meeting. They are not here. The history of this particular property is they are right next to a different property that share a perennial stream. The abutting property had done work within the 200-foot riverfront. One of our commissioners was able to get on to the Kelly's property at 95 Niles Street to take photos, and they were very kind to do that. They were informed at that time that they were also in riverfront. The stream is, imagine this is the house, the stream comes along the road, goes right here, it's only a couple feet from the house.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it's really close, and then it continues on to the next property. So they were told at the time, if you do any work, please come to us first. The next thing we know, someone has a backhoe, they have a backhoe on their property, we go to check it out, they put in a patio. So Paul, our former chair, and Tim, the vice chair before me, went and told them, you're not supposed to do this, you're in riverfront. They allowed it to keep it. Then the next thing is they wanted to remove some trees. So 3 of us, including myself, went out to take a look at the trees. There were 5 trees. The arborist declared them dead, and since they were a hazard to the house, we said, yep, you probably can take it down, but you need to come to the commission. You'll have to file an RDA. And we told them repeatedly, they needed to come before us, that we would not make the decision. The next thing we know, they had cut all the trees down and had also ripped out the stumps that were holding up the riverbank. So the stream was collapsed. So this is the point where we gave them an enforcement order. And And they are now in the midst of restoring the bank and restoring along the riverfront. They are not supposed to do any work on the property. Someone noticed, someone made a complaint that they put up a fence on the property. And that's why we called them in here, because they're not supposed to do any work. So we've told them at least 4 times to not do any work on their property because Riverfront is super strict. They ended up getting an enforcement order, and now they violated it. And they're not here as requested.
So what is the next step from there?
I don't know. I really don't know. It seems, my impression that I'm getting from all of this is that they do whatever they want to do, and then they get their hand slapped, and nothing really happens other than they get a stern warning, or they spend probably $1,000 on a wetland scientist to fix something that they got their way each time.
Did they actually restore the riverbank though? Like that's been done?
Yeah, in fact, Ken Thompson, who was here earlier
yeah.
today, he is the wetland scientist they hired. The property next door is also using Ken Thompson, so it was very easy for him to do both. They're side by side. So they have been, he gave me an update, a spring report, showed some pictures, said it was looking good. He said in the email that they wanted to cut down 2 more trees, and I said, you have to come before us and file an RDA. So I haven't heard anything since about that, and now we have the complaint about the fence. So I'm really, I don't know what to do.
Is it something town council can help with, to help us understand our options, or, I mean, is that feasible?
Or DEP.
Right, escalate to DEP?
Well, at least ask DEP what we should do.
Okay.
You have contact,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would do that, talk to DEP, see what they suggest we do. But, you know, these people can't continue to ignore us either. And if they're gonna continue to ignore us, then we'll have them remove the fence. You know, you can come in and do it the right way, or
Take it down.
remove it.
I think,
And we haven't approved it anyway, so.
right. I mean, I think what DEP will say is take them to court.
Yeah.
I know we have a fining mechanism in the bylaw, the charter. I'm not sure whether that's something that we,
Why don't you talk to DEP and then, let me know or Scott know, and then if we have to go with town council.
okay,
We need Scott's permission to contact town council,
okay,
so, and he'll give it to us, you know, but
right,
we just can't call directly.
right, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, there's nothing to vote on here, so,
Meeting minutes?
um,
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you meant
oh, for this
for the
particular
whole rest of
property,
the
right.
meeting. Yeah.
I skipped around a little bit. I want to make sure that I got everything, except, we have goals for the commission and possible regulations. When we get to correspondence, I want to talk about the Green Wave Connector Trail, but let's put that to the end. So goals for the commission. I mentioned at the last meeting that if you guys had any ideas for things that you think that we could do over the course of our time here, to let us know, and we can have a talk about it right now.
Well, I think one thing, and we did touch on it last time, is a lot of people don't know that they have to file with us, and we have to get that word out. I did talk to Scott after the last meeting, and he was gonna look into if we could put something in tax bill.
Something that's
Something like
yearly
that.
or something that
The
goes. to this
problem
point?
is, we don't actually do the tax bills ourselves. It's not like we got a bunch of people sitting around stuffing the envelopes.
Oh,
It's done, a company does it for us, he said, but he was gonna look into it. I'll follow up with him on that, but I think that would be the best way, is if we could get a flyer from,
Yeah, like on the idea of a flyer like this, I think
Exact-
MACC has one that's
Right,
very similar. And
and
like I
that's what I
said,
had told him, you know, and he said, you know, we could buy those and, you
Yeah.
know, do something like that. I think there's about 6,500 households
Mhm.
in Abington. Well, that includes apartments and everything too, so it's not actually properties. So it'd be less than that. My guess, maybe 4,500,
okay.
Okay.
but we can find that out from Leanne also. Number of properties. Because obviously we want the property owners to get it. So I think we need to do that, and also, I will see Kevin Tachi tomorrow night, and I mentioned it to him,
Public service announcements?
public service announcements, and maybe you and I even going on, and he can interview us for about 15 minutes and
Okay,
talk about something, right?
okay.
Even at some of the functions that they had, like Abington Celebrates and Oktoberfest.
Right.
If we could have a little table,
That would work, yeah.
some brochures on hand.
I was mentioning that to Tony, and she said she's got all kinds of ideas for how to do it. She knows people who can do it. I know somebody who is on Abington Celebrates.
I was gonna say,
committee.
social media is big too, like with the town residents, if you had something you could share through, like an Abington page, or
Yeah,
we could,
do
you
have
create our
an
own.
Abington Facebook page.
Yeah, so we
at
could
the town,
share, like, post
so
on
we could
that.
get stuff like that, and then we could all share that.
Yeah, and then,
also. You know, we could start our own Facebook page.
I was gonna say, you could have your own page, and we could,
Abington
have a
Conservation
moderator and,
Facebook page. We could approve that ourselves. We don't need the town's permission to do that, I don't believe. I would keep it to just notifications and not open it up to comments,
right,
you know?
just be like, it's this time of year,
Yeah,
so-
and we could post our agendas on there, like this.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
nice
so
thing.
people can say what they
Yeah.
about social media or something like
Right.
that, where they could see what's the minutes and the meetings are,
I would
past
suggest
meetings.
that we have the chair be the only one posting,
Yeah.
Sure.
you know, so we're not getting all of
We'll
us.
just have one moderator and just take care
I
of it.
manage, I'm one of four that manage another Facebook page, and we have to approve all posts. So we get them, you know, from.
And you can always
China,
share it
everything,
to other
yeah.
pages
So
and
we-
and Abington as
Yeah,
well.
so you have to keep it pretty tight, you know?
Yeah, I'm on too, but it's a private group, so hard,
Yeah,
nobody
you don't want
knows.
negative comments and this and that, or
Right.
disgruntled.
Well, we get them on
Fence
the
owners.
regular.
I was gonna say-
pages anyway.
Yeah.
But you know how that
They
goes.
can do
with it.
that stuff
Yeah.
on the regular page,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you can always share it to
But,
wherever too, or
I
something
think you
like that.
should start a page, you know, and, just get it going and get it out there, and then we can share it, and, like I said, I'll talk to Kevin tomorrow night, and maybe sometime over the next couple of weeks, we could go on, and he'll just ask us questions, you know, what is the Conservation Commission, you know, just to start getting some information out there. He'll also do a slide that, you know, when there's nothing on the TV, on cable, you know, these not advertisements, but, you know, bulletins come up.
You know, another thing too, some of the other towns surrounding us, like Norwell, actually has a volunteer program for people who wanna help conservation commissions, whether they clean up, like, streams or walkways. I mean, not saying physically go in the streams, but go along the paths and pick up debris and stuff, and keep their eyes open on certain areas, and if they see something, say something, you know.
Yeah, the page grows, you can always add stuff like that, events and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And I know Scott has it advertised now for a part-time agent type of person that could go out
Good.
and,
So we could get a part-time agent.
yeah.
Certified wetland scientist agent?
No, somebody that would just go out and look, you know, for example, a building permit comes up and, rather than one of us having to run out, you know, he could, or she could do that, you know? And just say, yeah, it's nowhere near the wetland, it's okay for the building permit, so,
But if they're not
Well, they-
certified
yeah,
scientists,
I
then how
mean-
do they know?
How would they know?
well, it depends who it is, you know?
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
if they could get someone who's a certified
Yeah.
wetland scientist, then that would be awesome. That's something that we've wanted for a long time.
Matter of fact, when I first came on board and we lost our chairman, one of the comments that Scott had said when on Abington News was that perhaps maybe we do need, you know, a conservation agent, and, you know, even if it's on a part-time basis, it would still be helpful to us if they were certified in understanding wetlands and such, so that, I mean, there's so much I don't know, and I've been on for a few years now, and it's like crazy. You've been on a long time, and we're
There's a
finding
lot.
out new stuff every day.
Yeah, but I think, you know, if we had someone that could just, you know, even take a look at something, say, well, you know, maybe it is a gray area and one of us has to go out there or something, you know? Just help out a little bit, but I know he's got something up there advertising for it.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's see what happens, because I know that getting an actual agent would take a lot off our plate. Would be really cool, and it would, one of the things that,
It would cut down on the amount of peer reviews
Peer
we had to
review.
do.
yeah,
You know, and that's the cost to the poor applicants who come before us.
And a lot of people, even people that maybe first-time home buyers or just new to the town, maybe people that, you know, aren't used to, like, moving to the suburbs, don't know these laws, don't know these
Right.
things. I don't know if we have something, maybe the town hall, when they first purchase a house, I don't know if it's mandatory, but I'm trying to remember, I know I had to come to the town hall for something when I bought my house, and, you know, if they had a pamphlet, oh, by the way, if you have any running water or
Yeah.
something, there's a little pamphlet pass out.
We could,
Those would be the same ones that we could do in the
yeah, and the
mailers.
town clerk
In the
would
mail,
put
yeah,
those
like
out,
that,
I
yeah.
mean, we could put them at the
Especially new
Board of
residents.
Health window, we could put them at the tax window,
Yeah,
the building department, all of them.
that'd be a good
Yeah.
idea.
We did talk to, I did talk to Jason,
I think they
and,
kind of look like this.
yeah,
Mass Department of Environmental Protection homeowner activities in the Massachusetts wetlands.
Yeah, it's almost something like when you get your trash, like when you first get your trash bill, like what not to put in recycling, what to put in recycling.
Well, I printed this off only because normally it's folded like a brochure. And you get to
right,
open
yeah,
it
little
up and go,
pamphlet.
"Oh," and it tells homeowners why they're important, what you need to do. It just,
yeah.
yeah, perfect, yeah.
I feel like it needs a strong visual, like, red, do not do these things.
yeah.
This is
It's
So
gonna
after
cost
the
you-
They
last
actually do
meeting,
have one that it describes banks and
Oh,
wetlands
good,
and stuff.
good, yeah.
But I just happened to see this one, so I grabbed it.
after the last meeting, when the man from Barry Road said that he went to town hall, and they said he didn't need a permit to put a fence up, which was technically correct.
Okay.
But now, the building department will not say that. They're gonna say it has to, you gotta run it by conservation. And there's gonna be a form they're working on for something like that, a fence or pool, something like that. That, that's not, well, a pool requires a permit, but things that don't require a permit, if they come to town hall, conservation's gonna have to sign off on a form. Because the building department doesn't know, no, the girls down there said, no, you don't need a permit for a fence. Well, they
Yeah.
didn't know it was, 5 feet from the river. So, they're,
If you already
they're on
invested
top of it.
$10,000 into a fence and you have to turn
Yeah.
it down, that's,
I mean, Tony has been emailing me and saying, hey, can you look at this address? I go on Mass Mapper, oh my God, it's so far away from the wetlands, it's not even funny. Yeah,
Right, yeah,
go ahead.
yeah.
Or there's one, which one? 8 John Keeley Circle. They have not only wetlands, but a perennial stream.
Where's
on the
John
property.
Keely?
It's off Plymouth Street. Isn't that off 58?
I don't know. I just went on Mass Mapper and went, oh, you got wetlands
Isn't that
there.
the cul-de-sac?
Come to us. File an
Am I thinking the
RDA.
right way? Between,
You can go on,
St. Bridget's
Google.
and Mr. Donuts, isn't there a cul-de-sac up in there?
There is, I don't know if it's that's
that the
name of
one?
street.
Across from the ballpark?
Yeah.
That's Kimber Circle.
Oh, sorry, Keely Kimber, I was
Keely,
close.
John
I was close.
Keely.
I know, I've seen it, I just can't picture where it is.
Circle. You can't find a way there? Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I don't know why I'm having trouble. Anyway,
I think it's off of Weston Glen Street.
Where?
yeah, so that's what we've been doing. There's a couple actually, she wrote like 3 Crossley Street. She contacted me today and said, can you look at this? They want a building permit for a deck. And so I just go on it. All right, they're very far away. Or nope, they've got wetlands on their property. They need to file with us. So that's worked, so far it's been working pretty well. She said
It
that's
says
what she
there's a
did.
French stream, it's called French Stream, like. kinda
Frenchy
runs through the-
Stream?
Yeah, runs through the,
Right,
Oh, that's perennial too.
yeah,
That comes
perennial
all the way from
stream.
Union Point
yeah,
to
looking at where
Weymouth.
it goes, geez.
Big.
So I understand like the home is farther away, it's outside of the wetlands, but I also do not want us to say sure, and then they just build somewhere else, and then we,
Oh, John
Don't see it.
Keely's off of Spruce Street,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So that definitely has some wetlands down in the cul-de-sac down there.
yeah.
Wow.
It's all woods behind it.
Because that whole development
I
was
see.
filed with conservation.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Okay. So in terms of the flyer, how do we want to, do we have people who are interested in designing one?
Well,
Well, I
I
think
think
Matt-
just use,
MACC
Just
has
use
one.
MACC's?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't wanna like make some Abington-specific modifications to it?
Well,
You can put our logo and name.
I'd be
stuff
okay
in
with
there.
trying to throw something together.
Yeah.
Maybe we take
Oh,
the,
good.
the MACC one as a guide.
why don't you share that one that you just folded up with him?
there you
Yeah,
go.
And then
Yeah.
Use some,
Copy and
that,
paste,
but,
whatever, and
Yeah,
design something.
You
I
can
think-
actually go onto
because
their
we
website
could
and see it too.
probably get Plymouth House of Correction to print it for us.
okay.
Is there anyone else interested in working with Justin on that?
I'll share with all you guys, and
Mm.
you can give me feedback.
Sure.
That
Okay.
works.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, my initial thought is much shorter than this.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
Just
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
super succinct that people can kind of
Definitely,
take
yeah.
in
One page
quickly.
flyer.
Again, I
I'll
think I
print it.
got that from DEP, and those
Okay.
are the most frequent things that.
Basically, we just wanna notify them that there
Yeah.
could be an issue
Before you
here.
do
Now
any,
you can
yeah,
do some homework and
construction.
find
Yeah.
out what's
Yeah.
going on, yeah.
Okay.
Almost like a dig safe kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
We had the prison paint in here too.
Really?
Yeah, the town hall a few years ago,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Nice.
Yeah, you get a lot of stuff done down there.
VOTech too, students,
Yeah,
they do a
yeah.
lot.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
Justin, you look like you were thinking about something to say.
Oh, no, I just, no, I'm good. Thank you.
So I guess, maybe it's not a goal, but it's a question, so, so I'm an architect and I've been in front of many conservation commissions over my career, some positive, some negative, you know, determinations about the work we had proposed. But I think, from my experience, people's, opinions and views of conservation commission is that it's like a roadblock to
Mhm.
anything that they would like to do. So, I guess maybe my thought is how do we change that narrative about the Conservation Commission in Abington? You know, I mean, I guess people are like, oh, Conservation Commission, what are you conserving? Like, what land are you trying to conserve, or what are you doing other than just telling us that what we
Yeah.
can't do?
I think people need to understand what wetlands do
Yep.
That's vital. They don't seem to understand that little marshes and bogs and swamps and these areas, they get flooded. I mean, when we have torrential rains, the water has to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And these little areas take so much surface water, and it actually acts as a filtration system.
Right.
And, you know, how do we get that across to them? I don't know. Does anybody know how to make videos? A quick little video
That
we
I
can put
don't.
on cable?
That I don't.
Little TikTok one.
But
Yeah, exactly, a TikTok account.
How about an Abington student project, where they could come up with a little video for us? You
I'm
know,
sure the interns could probably do something.
There we
Yeah.
go.
He's like,
No,
oh,
that's-
shit.
We need a little PSA
When,
on why wetlands are important.
When Lynn and I go in to do the show, we can talk to Kevin, the
There you
interns, that's what they do.
Have you
So
seen
we should use them.
how Massachusetts has a video on rubber ducks?
yeah.
And about how if you park a car in one rubber duck, if it was a piece of oil, how they all add up and they
Mm.
flow into your stormwater and everything.
That's useful.
That's
Mm.
very useful.
Yeah.
I love that one.
I think also, I guess part of that is, what else does the commission, over the 6 or 7 months that I've been on the commission, you know, what else is the commission doing other than just telling
Educating people.
Enforcement.
well,
And-
hold on, other than telling them what they can and can't do on their property, so like what, and I'm not saying that we're not doing this, but I'm saying this is perhaps the public's image of the commission
Right.
is, what other good is the commission doing for the town and doing for the residents of the town, right, the people that we're serving, so, you know, most people come in here and they're angry because they're telling them they can't put up a
Right.
fence or whatever, or
Yeah.
like, well, you called me in here, I got an enforcement order, or whatever, you know, so like, obviously, our main goal is to protect wetlands,
Yeah.
right? But what else are we doing to benefit the town? And I don't think that that's clear to most people,
Yeah, I mean, because,
like working with open space, or sorry to interrupt you, Lynn, but.
oh, yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, like working with open space or like Finsteri or other natural spaces that we are trying to conserve,
Yeah.
right? So like what other, you know, positive PR things is
So get a
Conservation
better
Commission
perception
doing?
of what we do, basically.
Right,
Right.
well, I mean, part of it is when someone, open space gets piece of property, town meeting, it gets voted on, and
Mhm.
we take it in, it's under our care.
Right,
If we vote on that, yes, it is in perpetuity, will always be conservation land for the town of Abington.
mm-hmm.
There's been talk about making a town forest, then we had open space here.
Yeah.
But really, a lot of places that have like town forests, if you go on the Conservation Commission's websites, they'll have, here are your rules for enjoying, you know,
Mhm.
conservation land. And we're just not set up for that right
Right.
now. But we
We
have
actually-
property
Yeah, we
Yeah.
actually took in.
that we're supposed to be taking care of. So that's one of the things. I think, you know, education about, really love to not have enforcement orders.
Yeah, we get a
Ever.
lot,
Um,
we have a lot of them.
yeah, that we have a
All the
lot.
time.
We did.
And just sort of educating people, like Jean was getting at, about the importance of wetlands. But I see what you're saying about, you know, that's what we've had to do, is become,
Yeah,
you know, we're the bad guy. We're in charge of enforcing the
Right.
law, unlike a lot of boards in a town. So that's one big part of what we do, and we do have to be like the first line of
Right.
defense for
yeah, and,
wetlands, but there are other things. One thing that I would suggest, and I'm gonna make this your project, Josh, if you don't mind. Go onto
write this down.
web, and anyone else can join him. Go to different websites like Fairhaven. They have this beautiful website, and I'm very jealous when I look at it, and I wish that we had a lot of what they have. But they have things like all kinds of information. And I think there's some other towns that are on the Cape that
Mhm.
also have some really nice ones of, here's how you can enjoy,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, Norwell,
the
I
land
guess,
and-
I'm sorry, I don't mean to have you, but Norwell had the volunteer program and all different types of, trails that people can maintain, and around Norwell has some beautiful areas.
Yeah.
But their website, if you check it out, their conservation is just,
And so if you go
Sharing
and you see
information.
stuff when you're doing your survey of, random towns, then it'd be great to hear back from you and say, hey, you know what, Fairhaven's doing this, or Wellfleet's doing this, or maybe this is something that we can do. Another one that we had talked about in January was Arbor Day. This is going to be a significant amount of work for us to do this, but the Arbor Day Foundation, you can be called a Tree City USA if you do 4 things. One of which is you have the mayor make a proclamation for Arbor Day. And we don't have a mayor, but, Board of Selectmen could potentially say, yay, Arbor Day is great. The second would be you have to have money in the budget for the town or some sort of law in the town about trees, which I'm not sure. I was looking at town meeting for money for trees, but it wasn't quite, I don't know if I saw that.
I don't think we actually budget for trees.
Right.
The planning board, though, does have regulations that if you cut down a tree a certain diameter, you have to, like on a project, you'd have to plant 2 to 3 at a certain. So there are, over the last few years, there have been a few tree bylaws that have gone through town meeting. So that's something you might want to look at, some of their regulations on
Right.
that.
So that's actually number 3 was the bylaw. And then number 4 is a celebration. So an Arbor Day celebration, the town, they had ideas on their website like, find the tallest tree in Abington, or you got the senior center involved with trees, elementary schools drawing trees, you have landscaping businesses maybe giving away trees, or
saplings. I remember my kids got little
When
saplings.
I
Things like
was
that.
on
Oh, yeah, everybody's a
the
little-
board
Yeah.
a few years ago, I looked into something like this, and there, I'll see if I can find it. There are some programs out there, because we were gonna give away saplings.
Yeah,
Actually, I was gonna use it as a campaign thing.
Okay.
Throw 'em out.
some people
But-
do it at weddings too.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Saplings.
And there are some organizations that will give us so many saplings to give out, so that would be a good thing
yeah,
on Arbor Day, something
Yeah.
like that. I'll see if I can find that information.
okay. So I think that would be something, of course, the Board of Selectmen have to approve, town manager, we'd have to make sure that we have actual money that's kind of tree related in the budget. And then, of course, there's the yeoman's task of actually having an Arbor Day celebration. Arbor Day is at the end of April, so it's probably gonna be around town election. And I was talking to Paul about it, and he said it's usually around the first day of baseball. So that might be a little bit of a challenge.
But if you did something like Allenton Celebrates, it could good PR for the committee board, or if you
Sure.
passed them out
Yeah.
there, it'd be, so like you get a different side, we're not just here to enforce
Right,
rules, we're
yeah.
here to encourage environmental or things like that. And
Yeah,
I think it'll, give us, a more positive spin as a town, and this conservation committee is not just some evil rule that's saying don't build a fence here and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea to give away free trees
Yeah, little
at an event like
Mm.
that,
Mm.
and give them the conservation.
Yeah, and then you get a pamphlet, here's a pamphlet, here's a
you
tree.
know, yeah.
yeah.
You might not have, somebody just came up and they had no idea to learn about it, and they. talked
Information
about
about rain barrels, because
Yeah.
that's something the town is now doing,
it. I seen
a
that.
sign up, like, if you wanna buy a rain barrel, you have until, I don't know, it was the end of April. You had, I think it was the deadline, and you could buy a
Yeah.
rain barrel cheaper, a little bit cheaper than you normally could find it online. And I have one, and I wish I'd bought another one this year.
It's $20 cheaper.
Well, I think we came up with some good things to start with.
Also, I think we could incorporate something like a town cleanup day. as
Ah,
well.
yes.
That, Rockland does that, yeah.
Just in the, it's springtime, right? So it's sort of a great time to just
Yeah.
send people out with bags and
We
pick up
did that,
garbage.
again, one time when I was on the Board of Selectmen. One year I organized that on Earth Day.
Yeah,
we did
Earth
that.
Day's a good day, yeah.
And we all met somewhere, and a bunch of people went to Arnold Park, someone went to
Well, you know, it would be
somewhere
good
else,
to
and, you know.
even make it town-wide, like if we could get people in their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
up
You
here
know,
on
like by
neighborhood.
street.
Mm.
That way we're targeting the town.
Mhm. Looks like the town yard sale, do a town cleanup, you know?
Why
Everybody
not?
volunteer for a person, you know, place.
Bring a bag of trash and get a sapling.
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
like that.
exactly. That could be part of
You know, we
Arbor
used to
Day.
walk our dog through Island Grove a couple
Oh.
times a week, and we'd fill bags.
I believe
Sure.
it, yeah.
Mm.
I walk my street and I fill bags,
Mm.
it's awful,
Okay.
but, anyway.
So, so for that, I think we have to figure out whether it's even doable for an Arbor Day celebration. I think our one sticking point is just gonna be whether we follow the thing about the budget for trees. I don't know whether it was like, you have a budget for, you know, if a tree's gonna fall down on town property, you cut it down. That would be part of like what, DPW or something.
Mhm.
Have to be something we figure out. I'm not sure how to go about that.
Well, maybe we should gather some information and maybe at the next meeting, bring it up and see how far we got and what we need to do.
So does anybody want to try to figure that out, or maybe we could just, we have to talk to Scott?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, just determining, whether we would meet the qualifications for a Tree City USA.
Because that involves a bylaw now too, so.
Why don't you send the requirements to Scott,
Okay,
and you start that way.
okay. And then at the next meeting, we can talk about next steps if we are gonna qualify.
Right.
Okay.
So you're gonna start a Facebook page.
John, do you wanna start the Facebook page?
I really wouldn't know to begin with. I'm sure I could find out. I mean,
I'm
but
just
like I
trying to
said,
spread the word.
but I would be a moderator or whatever you call it.
I mean, you
something
could
like
get
that,
the whole
or-
thing
Or an
started,
admin or something like that. I
Or
mean,
give me, you know, pictures or find pictures or something. I mean, I can start it since I would have to be the person.
So we'll be
but-
the fact gathering information and you can be the one that just uploads it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can, you know, come up with facts or pictures, and then I'll just put those in, and we can make decisions together, think like, what do we wanna post this week, or,
One of the biggest facts I learned was 1 acre of wetlands holds 1.3 million gallons of water. Can you imagine that?
It's crazy, yeah, you could all do all kinds of, you know,
And how much
fact, whatever
each
fact of the week,
tree
something like
drinks?
that, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
yeah.
My basement used to hold that much water.
Did it?
Okay, so that would be good. So we have open space committee, and that's one of the things that we wanna work closely with them to give them like, hey, are you gonna buy some properties that you wanna put into conservation? Maybe we can have someone on the commission pop in there regularly, just to say, hi, I'm from the commission.
When does open space meet?
Oh, good question. I don't know.
Do they post their meetings or?
They don't
Mhm.
record them.
Okay.
I thought it was 6 o'clock, but I don't remember
Okay.
when. But it would be really nice to have a point person for open space, if anybody's interested.
I can do that. I was the point person for the Board of Selectmen, so
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay.
I'll find out when they meet, and I'll go to their meeting if I can.
Another thing that I'm thinking of is, so we have the whole thing with Union Point, Southfield redevelopment. And I think, based on what I was seeing when I went to an open space meeting, they were feeling a little frustrated that they weren't getting information, even though they don't have to give the town information, because it's not
It's
really
separate. They don't have to
separate,
come
and we
before
have
us.
a representative.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have you know, Andy Burbine is now the Abington representative. I think it would be nice to just kind of, I don't know, get feedback or maybe have him come in and talk for 10 minutes or
Yeah.
if as necessary.
Invite him to a meeting and, we should go through him because he is our representative. So, I'd invite him into a meeting. I've been going through there, every day, going down to Yarmouth. So nothing's going on yet, but I hear that they're gonna get started, soon. I don't know what get started means, but,
Does that mean the water, how they're gonna resolve the water issue first,
I
or?
don't know. So, yeah, maybe get him in at a future meeting and get us an update.
Okay. All right, another thing is that we have an NOI checklist and an ANRAD checklist, and we implemented this a year ago, I think.
Yes.
I think it's been super helpful because what happened, you know, you get a checklist and you turn it in, and then, you know, I'll look at it and go, you're missing X, Y, and Z. So then they don't have to come in and us go, we're at the meeting, you're missing X, Y, and Z, let's
Right.
continue. So
And that costs them money with their wetland scientists, with them, their surveyor and everything, so, yeah,
yeah,
definitely a good idea.
we already have the NOI, we have the ANRAD, but we don't have an RDA.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would actually be pretty simple to do because we already have, a lot of it's gonna come off the NOI checklist and you just get rid of a lot of stuff. So that's something that, I don't know if anybody wants to take a look at the NOI checklist and then just modify it. So it's now gonna be an RDA checklist.
Why don't we all take a look at it and discuss it again at the next meeting?
Okay,
Maybe we get all different ideas.
Everybody's input.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Oh, another thing is the certificates of compliance. So I was talking to Whitney McLeese at DEP, and I was talking about a different property, and I happened to just say, oh yeah, we've got a bunch of open COCs, and she went, what? And I said, oh, well, you know, people just haven't come in, and one of our things a couple years ago was we were gonna send out like a form letter to people saying, hey, you have an open COC, please come in for your certificate. And that just didn't happen, we had so much going on. Tony has an Excel spreadsheet with all the addresses and names. And she just said, okay, this is not an optional thing. She goes, let me read you, she gets out the thing, and she starts reading out to me. When the project is complete, you shall file. She's like, the language says shall, not whenever you feel like
And
it.
what's happening is people don't file, and then when they sell their house,
They
they
come
need it,
crying.
yeah, they need it done right away.
Yeah.
Right,
So we had done this a few years ago, long time ago. Nancy had sent letters to people, and we got some in and got it
Okay.
done, but I definitely think we need to do that again.
yeah.
So, first, do you know how many?
No, I haven't seen the spreadsheet. Jean, have you seen it?
I did not see it, but I heard that there was many, like, many.
Because I know we talked about how we weren't gonna send it all out at once.
It's too
We
huge.
were just gonna do a bit, chunk at a time.
Yeah,
So we're not overwhelmed with
yeah.
people coming in. But I
Yeah,
think,
no, I definitely think we need to do that.
yeah.
I mean, I did create a COC letter to send out to people, and I had submitted it to Paul for review, and I think he came back with another one, which I asked him if he still has it, if he could forward it. So we could start at least mailing them out to people, saying, you know, check your records, we've got this as outstanding, whether you did it or your development did it, your developer did it, they need to be closed.
Right. It's just like building permits.
Yep.
People never call, well, you know.
Yep.
A lot of people never call for the final inspection.
Yep,
Yeah.
until they wanna occupy, and then it's like,
Right.
whoops.
Yeah.
So I think what we need to do is get a form letter
Yep.
made up. And then we can start,
I nominate Jean.
I already have one.
All right, well,
I already
it's
have
gonna
one.
be easy then, isn't it?
I already
does
have-
someone wanna work with Jean Because two eyes are always better than
Oh,
one.
John, I'll send it to you.
Okay, I'll look at it.
Oh,
Yeah, and then see if we can get it in by,
Next meeting.
yeah, which is August
It'll
27th.
give us stuff to do over the winter, COCs.
Okay. Do we have any other thoughts about goals? Does everybody feel they've got enough projects
We've
to
done a
do?
lot.
I think we have enough
Have you
projects
given us
now.
enough?
I just want to distribute it evenly. I don't want
And you
people to
did.
feel overwhelmed, and
And
I
we
want
did.
everybody to feel, ownership of something.
I did have one question on like the planning board and select board, when they're doing big projects on the town, and then they eventually do have to come to us, basically it trickles down. Should we, like, maybe as a group, or like, I know I was on Zoom online, or attend a meeting for like the selectmen or the planning board? Because sometimes the developers will say one thing to the selectmen or the planning board, and then when it comes to
Oh,
us, it
absolutely,
kind
a
of.
representative to be
Yeah,
there,
I
just
think
to
it's,
field
I think
questions.
it's just kind of, just to hear the complaints of the townspeople,
Mm-hmm.
and and then they come here, they don't know the meeting that's going on, when it comes to us. We could have some of those questions from like maybe like people from the
Well-
town, or that was brought up at the meeting, and, just that we can go over just as, as conservation committee, so we're not
I
walking into
think
blind.
the other boards are doing things better
Mhm.
than all the boards used to do. I think if it comes up that it's kind of like a conservation issue, that's got nothing to do with planning board, that's got nothing to do with zoning, and they're trying to stay away from that.
Okay, cause I know they'll bring it
Because-
up, like, where's the rainwater gonna go, what are you gonna do?
Well,
with this?
that,
That
some
is
of,
under
Yeah,
planning.
yeah.
That does
then
fall
what-
under
yeah, and then,
planning.
You know,
But,
environmental things after that as well.
there was a time when people would go to zoning, for example, and say, well, it's 100 feet from the wetlands or whatever, and, they'd start talking about that, and then, it's got nothing to do with zoning.
Mhm.
So, several years ago, I think they, it's gotten better, is what I'm trying to say.
There's a lot more blueprints
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
But you're certainly welcome to go to any of those meetings, they are public meetings.
Mhm.
But I would caution anyone to
Not represent.
not
Right,
represent
exactly, yeah.
the commission, yeah.
As a-
So if somebody came in here, we wouldn't be like blind to
As
certain
a
things.
resident, you could
Right.
comment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. 'Cause
I know they might have like a different representative, if it's like a lawyer chance, let's say.
Yeah.
They would come in with a different set for like the planning board, and the selectmen, and then to us. as
Yeah,
conservation.
typically, you have the same engineer,
Mhm.
like a Garvey, you mentioned, someone mentioned Garvey earlier. He would go to the conservation zoning and
Mhm.
planning board,
Right.
and he knows what each board wants. But certainly, yeah, absolutely, if you wanna go to the
Yeah,
meeting.
I just didn't know like how, if they communicated, if there was like a big, like a huge project going on or something like that.
In a
like
huge
that.
project,
Yeah.
they'll probably, they might do a general meeting,
Mhm.
like Southfield did,
Right.
with everybody,
Mhm.
That's a bad example because they don't have to file with us, but,
Sometimes there's joint meetings with,
yeah.
planning board and conservation. I know we've had them in the past.
Mhm.
Well, they just had a meeting, down by the train station, that 40B.
Mhm.
And it was the water department, planning board, Paul was there for conservation, I'm sure zoning, everyone was there, so, they do some meetings like that,
Mhm.
yeah, on the bigger projects.
I know they do send us a file that Tony will give us as correspondence, and, we pass it along, and usually, there'll be something from planning.
And
um,
zoning, we usually get
zoning.
zoning
But it's
too.
like,
We don't know what
we're just sitting there, and it's at the end of the meeting, and it's like, oh, these other people need to look at,
Yeah.
so it would actually be kind of nice, like, John, if you're really interested in
I mean,
going
yeah,
to
I
meetings.
could do that, or, like I said, there's always a Zoom thing or something like that,
Yeah.
with projects like that, just to get either the input from the townspeople, or if something is said differently compared to the zoning, planning, selectmen, then they come to us and they're like, oh, everything's fine, no, everybody says
Yeah.
everything's great. You
That
know,
actually
well,
happened.
That's where
You
we,
know,
I
what
just
it-
wanted to
that's
say-
happened because
Yeah.
there's a house on Center Ave that planning board approved, and it was supposed to be a colonial. When it was built, it was a raised ranch, and that's not what was approved. So, when Scott first got here, he wanted, inspectional services department. And he made Marty Golightly, who was a health agent for a while, the inspectional services. So everything goes through there. So conservation approval, zoning approval, planning board approval, everything has to go through there
For a sign off.
for a sign-off. And I think with Jason and Nick in the building department now, just like the fence thing, we're trying to get that back. So those things don't happen. So they know, you know, exactly what planning board said. I mean, the building department, in their defense, they come through and see plans for a raised ranch and got sign off from planning board and zoning board, conservation, issue the permit. But, you know, those things do slip through.
And we had, I know my very first meeting, I had watched the planning board for a particular thing, and there was an issue, and then when they came here, it was never brought up. And so I'm like, excuse me, because they're like, let's close it here. I'm like, but wait. And it turned out to be a huge issue, and they just didn't tell us about it, and I don't think anyone else had watched it. So, yeah, just keeping an eye on what they say and other issues that are going on, I think would be helpful. So if that's something you want to do, great.
Sure, just
Feel free.
transparency between all the boards and just in
Yeah.
case something like that happens.
Yeah.
Especially
The only
with a
thing
major
is that
project
you don't want to get up and say, hi, I'm
Right,
so-and-so
yeah,
from
exactly.
conservation.
I
This
just
is-
kind of observe, even like, even
Yeah.
on a Zoom or like watch, they have the, on YouTubes too, so you
Yep.
can, you like study a project before it came to us and, just make sure that everything that was said in that meeting is said in this meeting.
Right, exactly. Yep. Cool. Anything else for goals?
And I think we have a lot of takeaways.
We have a lot. I know.
You know,
So the next thing, and almost our final thing, is regulations. So we made regulations last year, one of which was for setbacks. And one of the things that we did is we left the rivers, ponds, and lakes to be determined. And the reason for that is we found out there was a typo where, and I wanted to ask you about this, Alex. In the bylaw, it said originally that there was a 200-foot buffer for rivers, ponds, and lakes. And then in 2006, there was a typo where it said 20. And so then when we were thinking about, do we want to have a bylaw or regulations, I was looking at that and I realized, wait a minute, you can't make a bylaw that's less strict,
No.
right? You've got 200 feet. So Jean went to the librarian and asked about that, and it was indeed a typo.
it was.
So, but then the question is, in the State Wetland Protection Act, there's 100 feet for ponds and lakes.
Right.
So I was wondering if you knew, I asked Jean as well, she doesn't remember, why the town, when they put the bylaw in, they gave 200 to ponds and lakes.
When was that done?
2003?
That was way back.
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't remember that, and I personally would not have been in favor of that.
Yeah.
I think just a 200-foot river is fine. I think it's too restrictive. 200 feet on a pond, I mean, a lot of people live within 200 feet of the Island Grove.
Well, yeah, but because they're pre-existing, that would not be, but it's.
I understand,
yeah.
but still, you know, our goal is not to restrict people from using their property either, you know, as long as it's done properly. I think 200 feet of a pond or a lake, well, we don't have a lake, but I think that's a little too restrictive, so I don't know why that went through in 2003,
Okay.
but 20 feet obviously was a typo.
Yeah. Yeah, so then it became the question of what to do about setbacks, that we had been doing for just regular things, because riverfront, right, that has a whole bunch of additional protections and
Right.
things like you can't build closer to the river, you need, you should stay in the same footprint or move away, and any work that you do has to lead to a restoration of 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 replication. So there's a lot to that, and it seemed like it got lumped together. And so
While you're on replication, what does our bylaws say for replication?
it doesn't say a 1-to-1. It just says mitigate.
I think that's something that should be specific.
So we did that with the regulations. And because we were realizing, and that's the next issue I'm gonna bring up. So the state recently changed their replication guidelines. And one of the reasons is because of some studies that came out that they commissioned about the success of replication, which turned out to be like 50%. So, and it was due to a number of reasons, a lot of it design, a lot of it a lack of monitoring. And so that's why they have a completely new set of guidelines for how to get this done. So we ended up, what the DEP has recommended now is that because replication tends to not work very well, the larger the replication area, the more likely it is to be
Right.
successful. So try to get the 2-to-1.
Right.
So we didn't want people to come in, have a plan, show up at conservation and, oh, no, we want you to do 2-to-1. And then they have to go back and redraw the plan.
Right.
So we wanted the regulations to be right on the web page so that when people come in, before they even design the project, they know what they're working with. And they're not trying to read our minds.
Well, that's something that could be on the checklist for notice of intent also,
Yeah,
what we require for that.
yeah, that's true.
But I definitely think it needs to be more than 1-to-1.
Mhm.
Because like you said, if it's 2-to-1, half of it fails,
Right,
then we're getting our 1-to-1,
yep.
you know?
Right, and that's what they recommended. So in terms of the setback, we have a little table in the regulations, like this is how much you do if you're commercial, and this is how much you do it for a road, if you're, all these things. But when it came to rivers, ponds, and lakes, it was just set to be determined. So it's one thing I want us to think about. We don't have to make a decision, but what do we want those setbacks to be, considering how, you do something by a pond and a lake, it's going into our water supply really quickly. But, a lot of, if we make the lakes and ponds as restrictive as riverfront, then people who live around Island Grove are gonna have a really hard time getting anything
Building
done.
a deck or anything.
They still have to follow River
Right,
Protection
yeah.
Act,
Mhm.
but do they need to do it for Island Grove or
Yeah.
any other pond in the town? So I don't know. It's just something that I think we can think about for
Okay.
the future. The last thing I want to say about, in terms of regulations though, and this is related to replication, where we have recently had some issues where people have come in, their business model, I believe, and this happens to a lot of people who come before, is buy a property, build it, sell it, which is great. But sometimes they'll design it so that they have to replicate. So they have to fill in a wetland and then replicate it elsewhere. And under the law, it's supposed to be a 2-year process of monitoring. And that always made me curious because we weren't really doing that. We weren't saying to anybody, you gotta wait the 2 years for their certificate of compliance. And we recently had an issue, as Jean and I were learning more and more and more and taking MACC classes, and
Yeah.
they'd say, here are all the orders of conditions that you should do for replication. It was like 60, 70 different things. And a lot of our time was like, we can do that? We should do that? You know, there's a lot of that. So the very first project that we had that involved a replication, we were like, okay, let's try these new ones. Okay, it's gonna take 2 years for monitoring. When it came time to get the order, well, I asked for this past spring, the monitoring report. And I was told by the representative, you're not gonna get one because you guys said it was good and we gave you a certificate of compliance. You didn't put it as an ongoing condition. At the same time, same representative, same developer had a different property in Riverfront that required some restoration. They asked for an amended order of condition for the restoration. So it seems like, and I called some conservation agents about this because I talked to someone in Uxbridge because they have a policy of no amended order of conditions. They said people were abusing it. So I called and I'm like, what happened? What's going on? Because this seems a little extreme. And they said, yeah, people were getting on our cases about it. We finally just said, forget it. Nope, not anymore. And I said, well, do you ever give out a certificate of compliance of any kind if someone still has replication? And she said, no, nobody does that. And I'm like, well, we have, you know?
Well, here's the
So-
problem you run into, like you said, a developer.
Yeah,
You know, he's not holding the property for 2 years just to satisfy conservation.
right.
They're gonna flip.
So, can we issue a certificate of compliance with conditions? You know, that, you know, it has to be monitored and report back to us.
It was supposed to be, but I felt like we were being played,
Yeah.
that
well,
it was kind of
That sounds like we were
revenge.
being played.
for you
Yeah.
guys, like, now we're applying these stricter standards.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna get back at you and be the lawyer thing and more adversarial type of thing.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to the Weymouth Conservation Commission agent today, I said, hey, how about you? What do you guys do? And he said, it's not so much a problem with commercial buildings. It's residential.
Yeah.
And he said what happened for them is someone buys a property, they build it, they sell it, and then a year later, somebody sells it.
Yep.
That person doesn't even know that they're on the hook for replication.
Well,
And
that's
rest-
why if it's a partial or, there's gotta be a legal way to do it so it shows up at the registry of deeds.
The thing is that people aren't looking at it, and we actually
Yeah,
have
but I mean,
that
if there's
with-
something out there and they're flipping the property, an attorney's gonna pick it
Yeah.
up.
But he said what they do is they have a bond for residential. So I think we have to have that in a bylaw.
Yeah,
They do have it in their bylaw. And he said, because what happened was they set it and, okay, we'll make it $1,000. Well, people were like, fine, that's just the cost of doing business. I'm not gonna do the replication. He goes, you have to make it a significant financial amount to make the person go, you know what, I really wanna continue this, so I can get my money back.
yeah, but to buy a bond for that, is, like 10%.
Yeah,
So it's still the cost of doing
Yeah,
business, you know what
yeah.
I mean? So if we had it at $5,000, say, you know, they can buy a bond for probably $50 for something like
Okay.
that, you know, or $150.
yeah.
Buying a bond like that is pretty cheap.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's give that some thought, because I'm not sure how we could handle that.
My thought is that we have a regulation to make it very clear, if you have replication, you need to know it's gonna be a 2-year process.
And also, if you remember, our circuit rider said replication should be done first, before the building, the house,
Yeah,
or whatever.
right.
So then it cuts down and you're not doing a 2-year, and by the time they finish the project, we're looking at maybe, because it's 2 years or 75% overall success.
Mhm.
But, you know, I mean, the thing is somebody comes in, their business model is, I'm gonna use the term flipping, which is kind
Yeah.
of derogatory, but I think it
Well, a lot of
shortens
people
it.
do,
I'm not,
especially houses
Well,
now.
yeah, I'm not looking at it the bad way.
They're in
then.
it to make money, so
But they're in it to make money. This is what they do. They hold the property. They don't wanna have it for 2 years. If we make it very clear from the very beginning by having it on our website, hey, if you're gonna do replication, this is gonna be a longer process. They can go and go, oh, all right, well, maybe I can design my property in such a way, let's say we're doing a home, to try to avoid that as much as possible. So then they can still do, like, ideally, they wouldn't build on a wetland or in the buffer.
Mm.
That doesn't always work. But maybe they can, okay, instead of having a 3,500 square foot home, let's make 3,000. Or I wanna sell a 4-bedroom home because that's what the market likes. I'm just making an example up. Maybe we can go up. Maybe we can have the second floor rather than a big ranch. So I'd rather have someone, you know, be able to get their property, buy the property, do what they want to do with it so they can make the money. At the same time, the state requires us to do certain things that would not be within, they probably are going to lose quite a lot of money if they have to stay for the 2 years. But it's being abused here in Abington.
Yeah.
So I would like us to consider something, a policy that we can have about that. We've already had another case involving a restoration where the property owner had no idea he was supposed to be continuing. And I think, Jean, you were the one who
Yep.
spoke to him, and then he had to hire lawyers.
Right.
And-
It kind of hung in limbo till the buyer's attorney dealt with the developer's attorney, and in the meantime, nothing was getting done, so, you know, it can get ugly.
Yeah, and
And-
this big steel man costs a lot of money, basically.
Yeah, so,
But if we make it really
anyway.
clear,
Mm.
hey, if you can avoid doing replication, that would be
That would be perfect.
that would
Yeah,
be perfect.
But that's not always,
Right. It's not always the case, but if somebody's like, you know what, I'm gonna be the homeowner and I'm gonna keep this guy for 30 years, sure, I'll make it, then we don't have any problems whatsoever, as long as they do what they were supposed to do. But I also don't wanna hold somebody back if
if they.
I
need to-
intended to do this on the
Right, yeah.
property, and now you're telling me now I have to do this for 2 years, what the heck? I just don't want us to get snowed again. And we're all volunteers. Most of us work for a living. We are not lawyers. And I don't want us to be in a position where we have to be super, super careful because there's somebody out there who's gonna try to get away with stuff.
I'll look into some of that a little
Okay.
before the next meeting.
Okay.
Talk to a couple of attorneys and see what they
What
think
they
too.
say, yeah. Okay. So if you guys have any more ideas about regulations, we can talk. I know it's really late, so
yeah.
I
Well,
apologize.
this is nothing. When I
okay.
first got on in the 90s, we'd go to 11 o'clock at night.
Oh my gosh. Dang.
Then I became chairman.
Okay. I saw how Kevin Donovan does it. It's like boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, yeah. Building permits, site visits. I signed one for 3 Crossley Street for a deck, nowhere close to a wetland. 91 West Street, nowhere close to a wetland. They wanted to take down a shed and replace it. There's gonna be an RDA filed for Island Grove for the gazebo. They're gonna be replacing that.
Because that falls within 200 feet now, right?
Yep,
Mhm.
it does. So they're gonna come in at some point for an RDA.
Already have
and-
it fenced off. I did see a excavator there as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
fence has been there for several
Just for
years.
safety, yeah, I just
Yeah.
did happen to see an excavator there the
Yeah.
other day.
Yeah, so that should be pretty easy,
Yeah,
to do,
pretty straightforward.
pretty straightforward. And then I
Because they're
had,
definitely more than 100 feet away from the water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, aside from that, it's already been disturbed and
Yeah.
that if they're just rebuilding what's already pre-existing, my
Mhm.
concern would be mostly erosion controls.
right.
Yeah.
8 John Keely, we discussed already. And then actually, if you look at the back of your packet, 261 Walnut Street. So they wanna put in, ground solar. So they already, it looks like they already have, a rooftop array. And from the little that I saw, they have company who wants to add to it, it looks like, to put in ground solar. And yet we have this enforcement order issue.
Well, they can't be putting in
Right.
solar with an enforcement order there.
Right. And Jason Harris told me that, it hasn't gone before zoning yet either,
Okay.
so.
Are they just gonna do it?
I have solar panels. I wanna maximize the amount of, juice that I get, so
Yeah.
I get wanting to add and stuff, but.
Yep.
Yeah,
Understood.
and I was looking it up, actually, solar panel with the Wetlands Protection Act is really interesting, because our bylaws and regulations don't apply, because they want to encourage solar. But they take into account the wetland being like the canopy of the tree over the life of the project. So if your solar panels are gonna last 20, 30 years, then they have actually not Excel spreadsheet, but a table where you say, this is the diameter of this tree, and this is what the canopy's gonna be in like 20, 30 years. And then you have to work from the canopy line. It's weird, because I was looking at that going, who's gonna ever be able to build with that? But anyway, that's one thing. We have meeting minutes. I don't know if everyone had time to look at those.
I did.
Okay,
Then why don't you make a motion?
yeah,
I will. I make a motion to accept July 9th, March 12th, May 14th, but 6/25 has to have some changes, which I think Lynn said Tony was very much aware of.
Yeah.
On the sidewalks, because Mr. Bunker was not in attendance, I was.
mhm,
May 14th doesn't mention Josh.
Oh,
Um,
it doesn't?
Nope.
What?
okay, that's good
Sorry.
to know.
Oh,
So why don't we do, July 9th and March 12th separately?
okay,
Okay,
So I'll second, Jean's motion on those.
okay.
July 9th and March 12th,
Yeah.
okay, sounds good.
And May 14th and 6/25 will have to be adjusted accordingly.
Okay, sounds good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We can do March 4th with just adding Josh's name.
Right.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
Oh.
all right,
Fine.
And then, then we'll wait on June 25th.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and, all right, great, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
You're about-
unanimous.
Oh, I know. Okay. But if there's 3 ayes, do I have to keep up?
Final thing.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
There's my ayes that I missed.
Can you start passing these down?
Yeah.
Follow the tradition.
Yeah.
Robert's rules of.
So, I think most of you there for
Does
the,
everyone have this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, you do already, okay,
Jean's
you
email.
didn't
Yep.
have it, okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about the Green Wave Connector Trail.
Right.
Jean went through and did a lot of very extensive research.
I did.
Do you wanna talk about?
I would love to chat about it, but I think it would be more effective for them to, when they actually get home and can zoom in on these links and read it. But one of my concerns quickly was that, the connector, Green Wave connector, bringing in all that fill and dividing a wetland in half and damming it on one side and another side, the impact to the wetlands as well as the people who live around there would probably not be a very good thing. So I went and did some research and started looking at ADA compliant and, you know, walking trails that span wetlands and riverways. And I came up with a lot of websites. One of them being Acton was very impressive, because they actually built a walkway, there's a little picture of it right there. And it traverses wetlands, it actually, a waterway, and it connects a brand-new neighborhood to a new elementary school. And it's become like the shining star of the town of Acton. It's just such a beautiful thing, but, I mean, Abington doesn't have to go that fancy, but. And then there's other walkways that are ADA compliant on the Cape, in Marshfield, Easton, Norwell. And I think maybe I wanted to propose an alternative to bringing in fill and displacing and ruining a wetland and having them go through all the expense, because once they alter 5,000 square feet or more, it becomes a larger project involving federal guidelines and water quality, and it would save the town a lot of money. Plus, it would look a lot better.
Yeah, those boardwalks are beautiful.
Those boardwalks
I
are
had always
beautiful.
envisioned, and, you know, Scott and I and Tim Chapin were actually the ones that got this whole thing going from the Washington Street to, coming up to here, and then, you know, our plan was to extend it across. But I envisioned, the wood,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
not, 10 feet of asphalt.
Yeah, okay.
So there are options out there.
There's less of an impact, they only have to sink it would be like when they work on a waterfront. I mean, they sink the tubes,
Just
Yeah.
the pillars, yeah.
the pillars or whatever,
Yeah.
the piers, and, I mean, they're beautiful. I mean, if you go to Ames Knoll, there's wooden walkways there,
That's right.
and they're absolutely beautiful.
This first one, I was looking into this one in Acton, they
Yeah.
actually have, it leads you to the builder, and they have like a video showing the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, I attached the link for
Yeah.
the builder who did it, and they do quite a lot of work across the United States, and they've done several projects here in Massachusetts.
So they actually have a metal roof, which we wouldn't necessarily need, but everything is above the wetlands vegetation, so it's like 5 feet off the ground.
No, but I mean, if we really put some thought into it and go with Scott's plan and your plan and Tim's plan when you first thought of it, I mean, having a greenway connector that's attractive, that's gonna bring in a lot of people, can do a lot of good
Right.
things for the town. So if you make it beautiful and not just, if it was a railroad tracks that we were redoing over, that's one thing, cause it's, the damage has already been done, the fill's already been brought in, it's been
Right,
elevated,
right.
there's no problem. But you're talking about a current wetland. I just,
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think we should push for the, wooden.
Yeah. There was another one in this, the last one that you,
oh,
5 boardwalks in Massachusetts that are charming.
Oh, down
One
on
of-
Cape Cod. I mean,
One of them had, people would actually buy one of the wooden slats.
Oh,
and have the names put on it like the
Yeah.
bricks at the playground, yeah.
And then it would pay for any replacement
Right,
that needed to be done. Oh,
Yeah.
You could also do it to raise additional money if
right,
Yeah.
you wanted to put on a roof or something.
right.
But they
A
were
solar roof.
pretty consistent
Oh,
about
solar roof would be
keeping
nice for
things
lighting.
at least 5 feet off. So you're still gonna have water flow, you can still have animals go back and forth, and you're not gonna be tearing anything up. So we wouldn't have any wetlands impact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would be more in favor of something like that because the impact is minimal.
Right.
And plus the fact that, I mean, projects that the kids can do in town is create signage for, you know, this wetland is blah, 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 and it contains so many plants, blah, blah, blah. You know, cause I walked through a cypress swamp in Florida, and they had a giant walkway that took you through, and they identified all the
Mhm.
different species of trees and flowers and so on. Even
Yeah.
spiders,
Oh, nice.
yeah. It was-
No, I agree with you. I think that's the way we should.
Yeah, let us know what Liz says. Hopefully
Yeah,
agrees
she
with you as
actually,
well.
she wanted us to talk about this at the next meeting, and I explained, well, I was kinda hoping that we don't have a meeting on the 13th, and I said, well, maybe we can, talk about it on the 27th, but I think she really wants us to have thoughts before then. So I offered a Zoom session,
Yeah.
but, if we wanna just say now, we like the idea of a wooden walkway. Um,
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
we're probably all in favor of that. Just tell her that's what the consensus is, and,
I think I'd like to see the presentation before I make
It's good.
a stance on what I would prefer to do.
Okay.
If that's possible to share it. I'm
Did
not
you-
saying that.
I mean, if they want to,
A wetland, but I'd like to see the presentation. I wasn't here on the.
Yeah, it was a
I think that
very
was-
informal,
Yeah.
but they had said,
Or if they have a plan of what they're proposing.
Well,
and-
they-
yeah, they do. If you watch the
That's
meeting,
really what I
yeah,
wanna see.
yeah.
yeah, their proposal was at
Plan,
the
yeah.
informal meeting, they said,
I think this is a copy if you wanna take a look at that, and that's when they showed us.
And if Liz says that
3 feet high with grade.
they're ready to present to us
The blue
before the
areas
27th, we could
represent
call
wetland
for a
crossing.
meeting.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to delay that either, you know?
Right. I think she was saying that they wanted to get our input in before the engineers made their plan.
Yeah,
And she did like, what Jean sent, but she did want everybody's opinions from the commission.
well, I think
I'm all for wood walkway.
the consensus of the board is,
I
the
think
majority of the board, but let,
Josh?
I want
yeah,
Josh to
let
feel
Josh
comfortable.
take
He
a look
wasn't
at
here,
it
so he needed to
and
be brought up to speed,
Yeah.
sure.
watch the meeting and.
Yeah, if there's a link to the meeting or.
It's on
Yeah,
YouTube.
it's on
There it is on,
If you go to Abington
Abington
Cam's
Cam.
YouTube page.
So one of the issues, Josh, is they wanna link this in, but their idea was to put asphalt down that was 10 feet wide,
And
which would
3
cut,
feet high
right,
with grading into the wetlands.
yeah, it would cut the wetlands in half,
Mm-hmm.
They were gonna put pipes in, but still, it's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Not ideal.
So if you, again, so if you hit that 5,000 square foot, you have to do the replication.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes the Army Corps of Engineering, when now you have the feds involved with tighter regulations, the water quality,
Mm-hmm.
EPA water quality
Yeah,
certification,
EPA and,
wildlife habitat
studies.
evaluation,
So you're talking, it's adding up the cost
And time.
and
Mm.
time.
yep. And the 2 years of monitoring for replication.
Right, and the replication they suggested was, taking part of an upland grassy area and making that a wetland in an area where Shar Ave and, we know, Grant's Place and Robert English Way already have some major,
Yeah,
It's
right,
water.
right behind the track, right? That's where
Yeah.
we're gonna do it. Yeah.
that's where they were talking, and that's got water issues now.
Yeah.
But you need to watch the meeting, well, I'm just saying, I don't mean it like that, I
No,
mean,
it's okay. I didn't take it that way.
yeah, it's just
Like,
that
we're trying to give you the Cliff's Note version, and I
Yeah,
don't
no, I
want
mean,
you to,
I can get the cliff notes from,
the meeting,
Jane's email. Essentially, you
Oh,
basically laid
right.
it all out there, which was very thorough. I
right.
guess I'm a visual
Yep.
person, so if there's plans or other things, that's where I'm gonna get the most information from.
I'm a very
So,
visual
yeah.
person too, that's why I was
So
like.
I'll watch that. I mean, obviously, I'm in favor of protecting any existing wetlands if we can, while also I live on the other end of that trail in residential estates, so
Yeah,
I'm happy about the idea of the trail, so eventually I don't have to bring my kids to school, they can just go themselves.
Right.
But, I just wanna give it the full
Absolutely.
consideration it deserves.
absolutely.
So how about this, I don't think we need a formal vote, do we?
no, I don't think we need a vote, but you can just tell
Yeah.
Liz that we discussed it and you think,
She's gonna watch this, right?
yeah, she'll be watching.
Right, Liz?
Hey, Liz.
Dan and Rich,
But at the same time, I want Josh's opinions
and
to
Dan
be
and
heard.
Rich as well, because
Dan
they're
and
not
Rich.
here either, so, I
Yeah.
mean, they need to weigh in on it.
So maybe what we can do, because there's a number of websites that Jean provided, is Josh, Rich, and Dan, if you wanna take like a week or so, look at it, and then email me, I can give you Liz's email too, and just let us know your thoughts. And then we, you could CC Liz on it, or I'll just pass it on to her and CC you. I don't like people feeling rushed.
Oh, yeah, no.
I don't feel rushed, I wasn't able to attend the meeting, so I
Yeah.
didn't feel like I could give the well thought out response to.
Yeah. And that's another thing, sometimes we're getting this thing where people show up at the meetings and they hand us materials and they want us to make a decision right away. In our NOI checklist, one of the things that we said is supplemental materials, you have to give us a week to look them over, so, if people do that, you might see me get a bit cranky. Okay, so I think that's it,
Motion to adjourn?
yeah,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed?